Good morning and welcome to Football League World TV. My name's Ned Holmes and this is The Debate Show. Today I'm joined by my Football League World colleague Billy Mulley to take a look at Russell Martin's start to life at Swansea City this season. How are you doing this morning, Billy?
Yeah, doing very well, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to speaking Swansea. A lot of contrasting opinions about the Swans at the moment, but yeah, I'm happy to get my point across.
Absolutely. Well, I narrowly survived some awful Wi-Fi issues and a coffee that was dangerously close to my computer this morning. But luckily, it's all okay. And me and Billy are going to get our teeth into sort of how Martin is, how that project has started in South Wales. But before we get started, just a reminder: like this video, head to subscribe to Football League World TV on YouTube, and also let us know your thoughts in the comments, whether you're a Swansea fan or just an EFL fan in general. What have you made of Russell Martin's sort of start to life at Swansea, and sort of where do you think he can take them moving forward? We'll start, Billy, then with last night's game, a 3-0 defeat to Stoke City. Obviously, not helped with that Ryan Bennett red card, but do you think that result is perhaps a measure of exactly where the Swans are right now, sort of certainly below that sort of second tier of Championship clubs, or perhaps even third tier in the sense of below the teams that are in that chasing pack for the playoffs, but yeah, not one that we're really worried about relegation?
Yeah, there seems to be quite a lot of clubs in that bracket at the moment. You think it is Hull, I think, in 19th for 12 points above the relegation zone. So Swansea sitting a little bit higher in 16th. You don't really have too many concerns about what could really happen in terms of a relegation battle. But at the same time, it doesn't seem that they'll be making strides towards the playoff positions. So yeah, it does seem a season where I think the end goal now will be for Russell Martin to get a platform for him to build on next season, try and go into the new season as strong as possible, because as we've seen, he didn't really get too much of a summer to build his squad, build the kind of squad he would like. And I guess in January as well, it's a reduced amount of time to do what you want. It's generally the summer where you do most of the business. So in that respect, I think it's clear to see that there is a project going on, and they do play some very attractive football. It's now just putting that together with results, which is something that's very, very difficult to do. But something I think that they're striving towards at Swansea. I have been impressed with them, really impressed with them at times. I think go back to, it was November, October time where they were in a real rich vein of form, performing really well. And, they were a big test for quite a few big teams in the division. But I think last night, looking at it in isolation, I think I've seen a lot of Swansea fans say it was sort of the worst performance all season. And whilst it immediately might be a cause for concern, just purely reacting on last night's result, I'm sure they've got the character within the squad to build back from that. Still got to welcome a few players back into the squad as well, which will be vital for them. A strong squad, but I don't think they'll be too concerned with. Won't be too concerned with that performance in isolation, because I think in terms of the performance level, it was a one-off.
Yeah, I mean, Swansea now 16th in the Championship after 29 games, with 9 wins, 8 draws, 12 losses. So 35 points puts them 10 back from the playoffs. Billy, I guess we can all but rule them out of the race for the top 6, and perhaps while that there'll be natural disappointment given it was 2 back-to-back seasons in the playoffs under Cooper, given the size of the project and the understanding that it was always going to be a long-term project under Martin, that's perhaps not the end of the world, is it?
Not at all. And I know we've seen him in previous seasons. We often go back to Blackpool of last season to as a basic reminder, as that you're never really out of it until you're mathematically out of it. And I guess that's something that will be spurring Swansea fans on, and the management team as well. But at the same time, as you mentioned there, it is a massive project, something that's completely different. The amount of players and the amount of quality players that they did lose last year, I think they've done well to replace them to a certain level. I think summer will also be massive to them, but at the moment it does seem that they're heading towards sort of mid-table mediocrity, which I don't think's too bad in the first season of Russell Martin. I think he's got excellent potential as a manager. I really like the brand of football that he brings to Swansea Tottenham Stadium. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positivity amongst recent disappointments, that they have shown to be a real top side in stages this season. And as sort of alluded to there, I think the January recruitment as well could be pivotal as they try and give themselves a platform to build on for next year.
Talking about sort of Russell Martin's arrival, then obviously he won a lot of sort of deserved plaudits at MK Dons, but perhaps worth reminding ourselves really that he is still a very young manager, and this season perhaps can be used as for his development as much as the team that he's building's sort of development. There was a lot of talk, Billy, about, given you touched upon it earlier, they're not contrasting styles necessarily between Cooper and Martin, but Martin's very specific style of play, and how long it was going to take for those ideas to really bed in. Do you think, from a Swansea perspective, we've sort of seen enough of them this year to be able to say yes, to be able to write this season happily off as one that is going to sort of come to nothing, as it were?
I don't think we can generally write it off. I think the Championship, especially with this sort of relentless schedule going into the end of the season, I think there is still a lot to play for, and it just takes a run of, say, 3 or 4 wins, and you're right back in playoff contention. So in that respect, I don't think you can write anything off. I think most would agree that it does seem to be heading in that way. But, as I said before, we go back to that Blackpool story, and we go back to Bolton, even in League Two, when they managed to secure automatic promotion after hovering around the mid-table region. So there are stories there to give Swansea fans that hope, but at the same time, I think I'm excited to see what's in store for them next season, if they are confined to Championship football again, because, as you say, he is building something, and I think that their position in the table is a little bit harsh. Their recent form has sort of damaged their progression in a little bit, and I guess it'll be interesting now to see how those new signings adapt and how they can help the cause, which will be, as I said before, building that platform and making sure they've got something to fight for next season, because they do have a quality squad in my eyes, do have one of the better squads in the division, a young, hungry squad, but also got that experience that you do feel that they'll need to do something in the summer, strengthen a few areas of the pitch. But in my opinion, it's about leaving this season on a good note and having that something to hold on to and to be excited for next season.
Yeah, I mean, I think statistically, at least, we can say that we're already seeing sort of Russell Martin's ideology sort of, having an impact. The Swans averaged 64.6% possession in their Championship games this season, which is the highest in the division, Billy. But, they're 17th in terms of shots per game. And I think it'd be fair to say that the key moving forward is going to be turning sort of control of the ball and possession of the ball into chances and control of the game. Obviously, it's natural for a team in the position the Swans are in, 16th, to be inconsistent. But do you think sort of it is turning that possession into chances and therefore goals that's going to help them find that consistency?
Yeah, as you say, dominating possession statistics, midfield, they tend to win the midfield battle. I mean, Flynn Downs, I think, stepped in and has done a really good job. Matt Grimes as well has been really impressive once again. From a defensive perspective, you rarely see them go long. You see them playing into the middle and building attacks from there. So they've got the foundations there. It's as you say, turning it into chances, which I think Hannes Wolf is a very good signing in that, player that looks to pick up good areas. He's an intelligent player, technically very good as well, and he's someone that will drive at defenders and has got good end product. I think having Jamie Patterson back into the fray will be massive for them as well. Another player that sort of looks to break the defensive lines and the midfield lines and receives possession on the half turn, and he's so influential. And I think we saw some excellent form from him at the end of 2021. So hopefully Swansea can see him back in regular contention again, and hitting those heights, because of course he does have the ability to. And yeah, I think that would be a massive help. You saw the sort of the connection between Patterson and Joel Pirro. Again, I think once Patterson's fully back into things, I think that's something that could reignite. So there are definitely areas for positivity. There has been a lot of debate, I think, within the Swansea fan base in terms of what Russell Martin is doing, but I think you'd find that the majority are back in this process, and are quite excited to see how everything progresses. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, I think that they're building something quite special.
Yeah, I'm talking about sort of two players that you picked out there, in Jamie Patterson and Flynn Downs. Obviously, Patterson's Bristol City career petered out a little, and he looks perhaps a bit of a lost player in his last few years at Ashton Gate. And Flynn Downs obviously sort of signed from Ipswich, but both of them, Patterson rejuvenated under Martin, and Downs really sort of taking to life in the Championship under him. Do you think those two signings in particular will show other players considering sort of linking up on this project, that like sort of the positives that it can bring for them moving to Swansea under Martin, and what it can mean for their career?
Yes, certainly. And I think in terms of their recruitment, there's no sort of clear style. Patterson was a little bit of a Championship outcast. Flynn Downs, obviously, from the lower division. Michael Obafemi from a Premier League loan. So that they're managing to secure players on all different fronts. And I think that's quite pivotal. It's something that adds, an extra dimension, and something that, as you say, is something that other players might be looking on their success and thinking, okay, this is something I want to be a part of. Especially Patterson, as you say. I think he went to Middlesbrough in pre-season for sort of a little trial period. He ended up not getting picked up, and then started the season incredibly with Swansea, and was key to constant chances created, scoring a fair few goals as well. And his all-round play was something that was a big area for positivity. I think Flynn Downs as well, a real technician, a real gritty player that helps Swansea dominate the midfield battles. Someone that has readapted to Championship football very, very well. Obafemi as well. I think he's shown in glimpses the kind of player he can be. And then Joel Pirro as well, another player that with sort of a different avenue to Swansea, coming from Europe. And he has shown excellent promise, and he has shown tremendous ability as well. So I think in terms of the signings, I've been impressed. And when you think the players and the caliber of the players that they did lose, then yeah, it was always going to be difficult to try and replace them with that sort of similar quality. And I think they've gone somewhat to have done that.
Just staying on the topic of signings then, Billy, would you say, sort of, given his distinct style, that possession heavy style of play that they play, sort of having his own players is particularly important, and from that perspective, it makes the prospect of next season post a summer window where Martin should really be backed by the club even more exciting?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think, as you say, that the nature of their recruitment, the nature of the project that's going on, it does suit more permanent signings. And should he get the backing, then yeah, it would be an exciting summer for Swansea, especially if they do put themselves in a position where there is this platform to build on. I think at the moment, Hannes Wolf is a very, very good signing, but when a player joins temporarily and does very well, then it sometimes can leave that void. It sort of leaves you a little bit in heartbreak if they go on to better things, and that's something that we could see. But yeah, as you say, I think the summer transfer window will be massive for Swansea. I think it'll be massive for Championship clubs all over, because of the nature of what's happened in January. I think just looking at a sort of a boosted transfer window in the summer, and I think that's going to be important for Russell Martin. As you say, permanent signings are going to be key to this project, and yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see what kind of avenue they do go down. As we say, that they've had a lot of success going in different ways in terms of their recruitment. It'll be interesting to see if they do stick with a particular source of recruitment, or if they that they do what they've done over the last sort of 12 months and go in a similar route.
Yeah, you do wonder whether sort of, there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of money at the club, you'd say, in terms of that's been spent over the last few windows, and that might mean we could see a sort of similar scattergun approach, in that they need to sort of dip their toes in multiple markets. Going back to the summer, Billy, obviously Russell Martin's arrival came quite late due to the sort of the late departure of Steve Cooper. How much of a setback do you think that was, Martin not getting that sort of full pre-season?
Yeah, I guess he was rushed into things. I think that's the main factor to pick up on here. As you say, Steve Cooper left quite late, leaving Russell Martin not too much time. And when you're a project-based, progressive manager like Russell Martin, it's about getting all the time you need. And I think that the first couple of months were like a pre-season in a way, because he was testing things out. He was trying to get the best out of his squad. The results weren't going too well, but as we said, that sort of possession-based philosophy has not gone lost at all. He started the season with it. He's continuing that's backed up by the possession figures you mentioned earlier. So yeah, he's someone that sticks to his guns. He's someone that perhaps didn't get the summer he wanted, but I think he's gone some way to not correct things, but he's gone some way to sort of impose his philosophy and his beliefs into the team during the January transfer window. And as you say, when he has the sort of 3-4 months in summer, yeah, I'm really excited to see what he can do, what kind of players he can attract. And I think for Premier League clubs looking to trust their younger players at a club, I think Swansea definitely have to be up there with one of the most favourable and suitable clubs out there, because of this notion that they play, especially sort of the top 6 clubs in the Premier League, they play the similar kind of football where they do dominate the ball. And especially I think they've got a good connection with Manchester City, and I think that could be pivotal, because the amount of talent, amount of consistent talent that's produced from Manchester City, I think that could be pivotal if they can agree something there.
Absolutely. Sort of moving toward the end of our discussion now, then, just first of all, what would you say if you had to pick sort of one or two things as really impressed you most from the first sort of 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 months under Russell Martin?
I think first and foremost that this notion of dominating the ball sometimes goes under the radar, because of the old sayings that our possession doesn't really count to too much. But I think to dominate the ball the way they do does take great courage, great technical ability, and great confidence from the manager. And I think to dominate the ball the way they do is something they could be confident on. It's now about building that and translating that to chances and then into goals. I think also sort of central areas have been key. I think Matt Grimes as well. He seems to be, well, last season he was very, very influential, and he's managed to sort of emerge as a key performer again. And I think in central areas that they've been very, very strong. I think Russell Martin has to also take a lot of credit with recruitment as well. As we've mentioned there before, the players that have come in, as we mentioned, he had sort of a limited timescale. So the fact that he has managed to add quality to the squad, I think also looking in January, I think Better's a very good signing. I think Hannes Wolf as well. When they played against Luton the other day, he was definitely a standout performer for them. Brings real attacking drive and energy to forward positions, and I think a lot of creative pressure was on Jamie Patterson's shoulders, and whilst he's been missing, they've struggled a little bit. But I think Hannes Wolf coming into the side, I think he's someone who could be a big influence on things as the season progresses. So yeah, he's done very well with the signings he's made on that sort of limited time scale. So yeah, as we say, it's a very, very exciting time for him in the summer, because he'll be doing his recruiting now. He will know what he wants to do in the summer, and I'm sure he'll go all out to get what he needs.
And what about on the other side of the coin? Is there anything, have you got any concerns from what you've seen of sort of Russell Martin's Swansea so far?
I guess the first thing I say sort of comes back to one of the things I was building into the positives, is that they're not converting this possession into constant chances, and I think that's definitely massive. I think, as I said before, Patterson and Wolf, Patterson coming back into the side, and Wolf really starting out his Swansea career. I think they can both be an influence on things as the season progresses. But I'd like to see the wing backs more involved in attacking positions. I do think Christie will sort of go a long way to do that, but losing Bidwell, who's very, very attack minded, it'll be interesting to see if Ogbeta can do the same, provide a real attacking service. And yeah, I guess that is my main concern. Another concern, obviously, is the fact that they've only scored one in 5 games, so it's not just about creation of chances from possession, it's also about set pieces, winning, scoring scrappy goals as well. It's not just about scoring the perfect goal. And I think that's definitely an area of concern at the moment, because they do have 2 very good forward options in Joel Pirro and Michael Obafemi, and if they do provide them with consistent chances, they'll definitely take them.
Sort of looking ahead, then obviously we talked about they're perhaps and they're certainly, we can't write them out of perhaps the playoff race just yet, but certainly they look to be perhaps not in that chasing pack, as it were. Do you think there's an added pressure at all on Russell Martin, given the success that Steve Cooper's having at Nottingham Forest and the success that Liam Manning is having at MK Dons, obviously his old club, with those 2 clubs pushing for the playoffs this season? Do you think that build, perhaps not this season, but do you think that builds some extra pressure on Russell Martin?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Obviously, his decision to leave for Swansea didn't go down very well with the MK Dons fans. So of course, MK Dons are keeping a close eye on how Swansea are doing, and constant reminder, if MK Dons are doing well, Swansea are not. MK Dons fans are always mentioning it. So I guess in that respect, within the fan base, I guess there's the added pressure because of social media. I guess Nottingham Forest as well, seeing Steve Cooper doing so well. I guess that will be a slight negative tinge on things, especially with where Nottingham Forest started out the season when Cooper came in, and how he's managed to really revitalise the club, and it promises big things in terms of what remains of the season. So I guess there are some added pressure, but the fact that, as we come back to it, this project-based notion, I think that's something that's quite rare at the moment in the EFL. He's such a young manager, got real good experience so far, and he's progressing at a good rate. I'm sure that he won't be put off by what's happening elsewhere. And I think going back to MK Dons, I think as much as MK Dons fans won't want to admit it, he had a big influence on things there. Liam Manning's doing an excellent job in continuing that, but I think it all did start with Russell Martin. He laid down the foundations, and Liam Manning now is adapted very well to being at the helm. But yeah, I think a lot of credit does have to go to Martin.
Sort of moving on from there, then we've talked, I guess, a lot. I think the word project, it's fair to be said, has come up a lot today in our chat, and that's obviously fair enough, and that was sort of recognised ahead of his appointment anyway. But looking ahead to next season, assuming that this season finishes as it's been going so far, so sort of a lower mid-table finish for Swansea, what should we be expecting from Swansea next season in your eyes? First of all, what should their aspirations be, and what do you think sort of, is there a minimum that they have to achieve, or really is it still the focus, continued progression?
I think first, I don't know how well this would go down within the Swansea fan base, but I think it's just progression. As you say, that last 2 seasons finishing in the playoffs might have impacted things. But I think for Swansea, it's trust in the process. It's a long process, and to go from a side that had the quality of Andre Ayew, Jamal Lowe, Connor Roberts, Mark Guehi as well, on loan. It's going to be very, as we've seen, it's going to be very, very difficult to replace that. And I think we'll both be bored of this word in a minute, but as you say, it is definitely a project, and the project doesn't finish next season. It's an ongoing project that will take years, I think, in the making. But that's not to say that they won't sort of contend for the playoffs. But I think Swansea fans, I think they need to be patient. That they've got something good going on with the club, and it's all about trust in Martin, because I know the table might not suggest it, but I think he's taken them in the right direction.
Yeah, well, it seems if Swansea fans can take anything away from our chat today, really, the 3 Ps, some positivity there, but there needs to be sort of patience with the project that is going on in South Wales. But certainly, from I think our perspective, Billy, a lot of interest from the Football League World team to see how things do develop with Russell Martin at Swansea. Well, that is everything from us on the debate show. But there's another debate coming this afternoon at 2 p.m. George Douglas will be your host. He'll be joined by Marcus Alley and Toby Wilding to talk about 6 EFL wonder kids to keep a close eye on in the second half of the season. So that's certainly one that shouldn't be missed. But just a reminder before we go, please do give this video a like and subscribe to Football League World TV on YouTube. It will really help us grow the channel. Well, that just leaves me to say thanks for everyone to watching, and thanks, Billy.